Welcome to Zero Gravity's podcast. Today I have my good friend David. He is the co-founder at Warden. So unfamiliar with Warden, can you talk to him a little bit about what you guys are hoping to bring to the market?
Sure thing. Hey, Jax. First of all, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here. What is Warden, right? So far, when you look at blockchain and AI have really developed in silos from one another. Both technologies haven't given that much consideration for each other. They've kind of both advanced in their own domain. And now, for the first time, after really what's been like decades of this parallel and isolated development, the silos that those technologies were being developed in is starting to break up, right? So if you've been to Token 2049 or to ETH Denver now, suddenly there are hundreds of AI side events, right? That was something that was new 12 or 13 months ago. So together with my co-founders, I founded Warden really with the goal of exploring the potential of combining both of these technologies into one single synergistic stack. So that's our vision. And that's a journey, right? This doesn't happen like from today to tomorrow. AI is a big topic. Getting it together with blockchain is even more difficult. So where do we start? Today, if you are, for example, a blockchain application developer, it's quite difficult for you to use the output of an AI model in your smart contract. So really, this is what we see as the first step of this AI and blockchain coming together, of this convergence, is making ML and AI outputs accessible to Web3 developers so they can really build new types of applications like agents, for example. So that's the background of Warden.
So it's about using AI and making essentially AI outputs useful to smart contracts. Let's imagine somebody, is new. Usually they wouldn't listen to the Onchain AI podcast if they weren't already bought into this idea. But let's say there's some skeptics in the audience and they're a little confused, well, why do we even need Web3 and AI to be mixed? Kind of talk about what is the good use case here?
Yeah, I think that the main use case, there's several arguments that you hear from different players around the need to decentralize AI. Whether this is you don't want you don't want single corporations to hold the power over it. If AI is really as meaningful, or if the impact of AI is really as meaningful as we believe it is, then it shouldn't be controlled by a handful of companies. That's one argument that I frequently hear and that I share. From my point of view, I have slightly a different take. And that's, I believe that there is a widening discrepancy between the types of experience, the types of user experience you get in Web 2 and Web 3. There's a reason why blockchain-based applications haven't been adopted that well. And you're putting both types of applications kind of on an unfair footing. When you look at things like, I used to work for Uber a long time ago. When you look at companies like Uber, when you look at companies like Spotify or Amazon or Google, ML and AI is driving them. They're contributing to why we're having such a nice user experience when we use them. At the moment, that's not accessible to Web3. And when you look at something like Uniswap, when you look at something like Aave or Compound, those are applications that can't use AI at the moment. And as a result, you get this fragmented and a bit clunky user experience. You get a one-size-fits-all model. And I think that that's time for us to change.
Yes, we've got the clunky experience. I can give listeners a little clunky experience this morning. So there's the Bybit hack, which means my safe wallet is for some reason not working on Base anymore because Base isn't live. So then I had to figure out I was going to pay someone for my personal wallet, and I ended up not having ETH on that Base account. So I was going to flip to Arbitrum. Crypto UX is notoriously difficult. So we talked a little bit about the use case of AI in crypto. One is that like, hey, we want it to be decentralized. Another could be rewarding people for their queries, and there's AI agents even having wallets as bank accounts makes a whole lot of sense. But I'm quite curious to get back to Warden and what you guys are essentially doing. So one of the things you were saying is like, hey, if you look at Uber, if you look at a lot of these Web2 apps, AI is heavily integrated in making those user experiences better and in the product. And currently, if we look at something like Uniswap, it doesn't really have like a lot of AI features, and it's not necessarily. So talk to us a little bit about the existing problem of like, why is it hard to use AI for smart contracts and use these for dApps?
Yeah, sure. So I think it goes back to a bit where we started, right? So blockchain and AI are these very separate technologies. You have blockchain on the one hand, and this is a distributed system. We use consensus to verify transactions in what is normally somewhat space constrained. On the other hand, you have AI. AI uses massive amounts of data sets. It's long-running processes. And on first sight, it doesn't really have anything to do with transaction verification. So it's very different. So if you want AI to kind of eventually become the brain of the blockchain, then you need to make sure that AI systems and blockchain systems can talk a common language. That's where it starts. And I believe that this is really the first step and what we've been working on at Warden, making sure that the communication between these two systems is safe and secure. And there's different ways to do this, but it starts with verification and fetching off-chain data to make that accessible to Web3 developers. So that's what we are working on in the first step, is making sure that a Web3 application developer can use the outputs of an ML and AI model for their own application. I believe a good term that we use internally is a hybrid architecture. That means that there are components that are on-chain and there are components that are off-chain. So for example, a frequently used or a frequently talked about application of AI at the moment is an agent. So in this case, a hybrid architecture means that this agent thinks off-chain, but acts on-chain. And this follows a bit this motto of on-chain where it matters and off-chain where it's needed. Not everything has to be on-chain. And what this means is, why is this difficult in the first place? If you take an AI model output, we've all used ChatGPT, right? If you use something like GPT-3 and you wanted to do a single operation with GPT-3, then this costs about 10 billion in gas fees and would fill up the entire Ethereum blockchain for about a month. So that's one single matrix application. So it's not feasible at the moment for AI inferences to run natively on-chain in a smart contract. Instead, a better approach is to run the AI inference off-chain, but make sure that you have a trust minimized integration into the blockchain. And there's different techniques that you can use to do that. They're all kind of very advanced tech type of things. You can use zero knowledge, you can use optimistic machine learning, you can use trusted execution environments, or you can use our own solution. So there's different ways to achieve this trust minimized integration into the chain. And that's what we do. We make sure that the AI model output that a developer uses is accessible in the smart contract and that the result is verifiable.
Yeah, and this kind of reminds me a lot of, if people are very into DeFi, they'll know that like a lot of market makers exist off chain, so you can often get better pricing efficiency not from like Uniswap but from off chain market makers that they end up putting on chain. So I assume you guys are taking a very similar approach there in terms of like kind of requesting for the inference response and then somehow securely routing it to the smart contract for utilization.
I believe that that's the first step. That's the first step towards the broader vision of fully decentralizing AI. But like I said, this is a vision and it's a journey. It doesn't happen from today to tomorrow. There are constraints that we need to work with on the blockchain side. There are constraints we need to work with on the AI side. And I think that that's the first step in merging these two technologies together.
And then talk to us a little bit about like where you guys are in the development cycle. Like where is Warden?
Yeah, sure. So we have our one of the heavily requested things that developers have been asking for us is a lot of people want to use this technology to build agents because there's a couple of things that this solves for this type of infrastructure. It, for example, allows you to assess whether an agent is free from human intervention. It allows you to check whether the model that the agent is using is verifiable and reliable in the first place. So a lot of people have been asking us to release an agent SDK. And we've released it now, and we're getting fantastic feedback and responses from the community on it. So that's the first product that we've launched. Down the line, we will be launching more products centered around AI readiness for Web3, including accessing inferences in smart contracts, for example.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, you guys, like, could you just walk through your specific feature set? So it seems like there's an SDK specifically geared towards agents. What else do you guys have?
Correct. So that was the first product that we've released. And this was kind of the culmination of, I believe, 12 or 13 months of work now. And I believe it's important to point out different developers have different requirements when they want to build an agent. And our SDK might not be suitable for every type of agent. It's a very different type of agent that you can build on us. So the agent SDK is the first thing that we are developing. The second thing that we are releasing will be an inference as a service product, which will be accessible over general message passing to lots of different chains, so that we can really make AI available even beyond our own blockchain. And that's slated for Q2. So that will be the second product that we will be releasing.
Got it. And walk us through kind of the user journey. Is it I embed the SDK and now I'm able to create an agent? Is it I have an existing agent and I install the SDK and now I have access to like additional inference?
Yeah, so the user journey for the SDK would be, we're entirely open sourced. So everything that we do is open in the public, even to the point where you can talk to our team members in Discord or in Telegram. So the user journey here is quite simple. If you want to develop a new agent, you'll be going to our GitHub, you'll be installing our agent SDK, or you'll be checking out the Ethereum dev groups where it's also posted. And really the time to create the first agent is quite low. We'll be enriching this agent kit as we're going along. So we're very community oriented in terms of the features that we want to develop. We'll be releasing a suite of trading tools. That's the thing that most people want to build on us, is a trading-based agent, because there's certain advantage to doing this natively in a smart contract. So we'll be releasing a set of ML and AI models specific to a trading use case.
And then talk to us a little bit about the potential use cases, because clearly you guys like prioritized trading. So like, what do you think is one, like the biggest use cases for agents, and where do you see that evolving to as a kind of secondary question?
So I think right now, when I look at agents and I would count virtuals, etc., to this bucket or AI XPT, I think that these are fun and engaging. These are fun and engaging agents, and they are kind of, they push the limit of what was possible. But as we started to speak to developers around what they want, we figured that they want to go and build something beyond a chatbot-based application. They want these agents to be able to perform complex tasks like trading DeFi. And one of the big differentiators is when your agent deals with money and it makes a mistake, things can go very wrong very quickly for you. So we all know, for example, anyone that has used ChatGPT or any type of ML and AI models those models are probabilistic. They get things wrong. So that's all the more important when you deal in a type of consequential setting, right? If AI XPT makes a wrong tweet, who cares? But if your agent performs a wrong trade and it ends up losing you money, then you will care. So where do I see this road developing? I believe that we will go into an autonomous agent economy, where these agents can start to perform meaningful services for us. They will go beyond fun type of chatbot-based applications towards performing real services that provide a utility for you. And I believe the closest one that we have at the moment is a financial trading assistant. Normally, when you look at investment managers, right, it's kind of reserved to very wealthy people. If you're a really good investment manager, you probably end up managing your own portfolio. So this is a way to introduce this even beyond that reserved group of people.
Where else do you see agents going? So I was talking with David from Lit Protocol. He was talking about how in the future we might not need to necessarily use apps on our phone, and that like we've been living in an app paradigm. You might open your phone and it might just be a bunch of agents. Where do you kind of see things going in terms of like agentic economy and agent adoption?
I think that first we will see agents rapidly maturing in 2025. At the moment, a lot of the agents that we see don't have agency, meaning these are not independent entities that are in charge and control their own actions. In fact, most of the time, they're built on centralized frameworks, and a lot of the times there's a human in the background pulling the strings. So I think, where do I see this maturing? I believe we will go into a world where creators of agents can no longer shut them down if they want. We don't want an agent to act in the interest of the creator. We want them to be autonomous, independent actors. And that also means, for example, funds shouldn't be able to be frozen or withdrawals being blocked. We don't want the agents to override the decisions when it's in the interest of the creator. So that, I think, is the technology side. In terms of where do I see these agents going to next, I believe that DeFi and trading is the first use case, because that leverages all of the work that has been done in the DeFi space. And I believe that it's ready for this as well. Ultimately, I see a world where these agents can take on even more complicated work, though. You can think about a coding agent, for example. Perhaps you have an agent that doesn't have access to a tool and starts to create its own tool. So I believe that there are different types of use cases, from the spectrum of fun to the spectrum of utility. And at the moment, we're very much on the fun spectrum, where it's about token shilling, where it's about KOLs. And I think the next step of this will be the trading use case. And then after that, we might mature into more use cases, like, for example, coding, or like, etc. So I think that that's where we're heading.
So more of an adoption of, like, at first it's more fun use cases, maybe more memes, more token shilling, KOLs, and then eventually more utility based. One thing that always comes to mind is, like, if you have a bad actor in world, like, you put them in jail, like, if we have all of these agents, like, I wonder what the like, you'll probably have to have some kind of reputation management system after a while, because you might just have like an absolute rogue agent with a bank account just scamming people. So who knows what comes.
So I believe that a very large, underemphasized threat in this whole agent narrative. I'll give you an example. How do you know whether you're speaking to AI XPT at the moment, or whether you're speaking to an impersonation? How do you know? How do you know?
To clarify, just an impersonation of AI XPT, or just an impersonation of a human?
of the agent itself, AI-XPT. Or I'll give you a couple of others. How do you know that this agent is free from human intervention and that the creator doesn't override its decision for his own gain? What stops me from creating an agent that pumps my own token and acts on that? So I believe that there are. How do you prevent the creator of the agent to access the keys? So I think that just like with any technology, when it starts, it's vulnerable. We have had this lesson in the hard way when bridges came about. And I believe in the same manner, we will have security weaknesses and security considerations that pop up as a result of this new technology getting introduced. So whatever the case, I would urge any listener, when you have an agent dealing with your assets, performing non-trivial transactions, caution is of essence at the moment. Caution and verification.
Absolutely. And then I want to get back to Warden. I know you guys have built, your own L1. You talk about like how it's a great place for building AI. Talk to developers and builders like on why they should choose to build on Warden and kind of some of the benefits you guys bring.
Yeah, sure. So I believe so maybe let me start off by saying we're still in the development phase of our inference as a service product, but there is a couple of compelling reasons of why someone would do this. I believe one of the first feature that I'm really excited about is the ability to bring your own model. That means that if you are an application developer, you can either choose to use a model that comes off the shelf that we support. For example, that can be one of the large LLMs like DeepSeek in your smart contract, or you can decide to bring your own model. And you can integrate this on-chain in a seamless and permissionless way so that you really open up the space of smart contract development. Now suddenly you're able to go beyond what other people have been able to do. You can truly build new types of applications leveraging ML and AI. And you can do that across two different VMs. You can either, if you are a Solidity developer, you can choose to write, or if you're an EVM developer, you can choose to write in Solidity, or if you are Rust developer, you can choose to deploy your application in Cosmos. And one of the things that I'm very excited about that we're working on is we want to make this accessible to a broad audience, right? I think that it was very clear to us that if we're going to create a technology that is as impactful as what we have, then it shouldn't be reserved to people building on a single chain. We wanted to make this available to everyone. And we are about to release a product so that these inferences are accessible across hundreds of different chains, even beyond ecosystems. And I believe that is something that is us opening the way to really distributing AI even beyond our own chain. I think for a long time, the Web3 narrative has been underpinned by blockchain. I think that it's time for AI to step into the game, and that includes making it as accessible as possible.
So accessible as possible. So how are you guys helping with the multi-chain aspect of maybe access to inference?
Yeah, sure. I think that there's two big pillars to this. So one is, how do you make sure that your inferences are accessible? For example, in different smart contracts. And like I said, there we will be using a set of smart contracting frameworks to make sure that these inferences are accessible from Cosmos-based chains, from Ethereum-based chains, but also from non-EVM-based chains like Solana. So this is really empowering developers that are chain agnostic to use our solution. The second thing that we do is getting the inferences into the smart contract is the first step, but you also want to be able to act upon the inferences, right? So I'll give you an example. If you are building an agent, for example, and this agent can only interact with an application on that specific chain, then that's fine, but you could be doing more. It's a bit like you want to have a fast car and a proper road. So I believe if you're building applications that are AI based, you should be doing so in a cross-chain native way. And that means that maybe you want your agent to have the ability to sign different transactions across different chains and use different types of applications across different chains. So interoperability, from my point, is fundamental to really unfold like the power of AI in different applications.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I'd love to know what is kind of on your guys' roadmap, or what kind of like milestones people can look forward to.
Yeah. So we have released our agent SDK in the first iteration, and we're going to continue building on that. We're going to continue to get the word out of this. We've had great uptake so far. People love our smart contract integration, which is very nice to hear. And we're going to be doing a lot more hackathons going forward. We've had 1 or 2, and the uptake has been fantastic. So that's one of the pillars that we will be doing for, is growing and making our agent SDK even more attractive. The second pillar that we have is our inference as a service product. This allows any Web3 application developer to use inferences for their application and in their smart contract, regardless of the chain that they're on. And this is slated to launch in Q2. We are doing the final tests and transactions right now. We've gotten a lot of it to work. There's a little bit of things that we still need to wrap up, but I'm confident that we can release this in Q2. So those will be the 2 biggest milestones that we have, and beyond that, we'll be entering a phase of replanning after having met those 2, I would say.
Absolutely. And kind of, where can people keep in touch with you personally and find out more about the project?
Yeah, sure. So we are open. We've been open sourced from day one, and that also includes like the work that we do. So if you really want to get into the meat of it, you can talk to us directly even on the engineering task in our GitHub. All of our conversations there are public. We share our thoughts there. Other than that, if you are more a community member on the user side, we have our Telegram group that's very active. We have our Discord group. We have about 150,000 members at the moment. And we actually look at the feedback that's coming in. So if you are ever using our products, I would specifically point to the product channel in Discord, where people kind of file tickets on the products that we have. And we actually look at those. Each Friday, we look at them together with our different teams, and we try to prioritize and cater to them. So I think that those are the best spots. Other than that, definitely on wardenprotocol.org and on docs.wardenprotocol.org are also very frequently visited sites from us.
Absolutely. And where can they find you online? Do you have a Twitter handle you want to shout out, or maybe you're more?
Yeah, definitely. I am active on Twitter under Worldwide Warden. Post regularly. Do please PM me whenever you have a question about it. We're very, very open as a team on our roadmap, on the work that we do, on the prioritization of it. So do drop a note if you like what I have to say.
Absolutely. Well, everyone go get involved with David, go join their Discord. And if you have any questions, they are very open to any kind of feedback. So until the next time, let's continue building the future of on-chain AI.